Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I've got some fresh Reddit stories lined up, and I'm going to attempt something that should be simple in my Minecraft world. Finally getting to the nether. That means finding lava underground, crafting obsidian, and trying not to get completely destroyed by hoglins. Spoiler alert, it doesn't go great at first. Whether you're here to wind down, study, or just want some background noise while I inevitably die multiple times, you're in the perfect place. Get comfortable, and let's dive into some stories together. Alright, let's see how this adventure goes. Here's the first story of this. It's from the subreddit r/TrueOffMyChest. It reads, "My 8-year-old son hates me, and I don't understand why. I used to believe that your relationship with your children was a given. To clarify, I believe that as long as you treated your children with love, they were guaranteed to love you back, and that the most you had to worry about if you did the right things was some kind of terrible illness or accident that ended them early. I'm here today to warn you that's not true. There are worse possible outcomes. My son is 8 years old, and I cannot be in the same room as him without being attacked. He will scratch, hit, and bite me constantly until we are separated. He bites as hard as he can. My arms are 50% bruises right now from partially healed wounds. I have done nothing to deserve this, and I've tried everything to reach him. I've tried love, discipline, ignoring him, reasoning. Nothing sticks, and as the years have gone on, it's only gotten worse. He's already in therapy. We've already tried to get him diagnosed with something. We've tried meds, we've tried no meds. We don't know what's going on, nor does his therapist or doctors. On Thursday, I watched a movie. About time, very bittersweet movie about how time is limited and we need to enjoy it as best we can. There's a scene where a boy of about 8 is playing on the beach with his father for the last time, enjoying one last beautiful day together. I absolutely lost it. My son only communicates with me through violence. Last night, I finally gave up. I cried for hours and let go of any expectation I had of having a loving relationship with him. He's 8 years old and hates my guts. There are worse outcomes than outliving your children. Please don't take your loved ones for granted." Edit. We are getting a second psych evaluation soon, so I'll write a second post with the results of that. Many of you are absolutely convinced someone else is abusing him and are unwilling to accept evidence to the contrary. There is no sign of anyone in his life abusing him, nor is there much opportunity. When he's not at school, he's with us, save for a few rare occasions where we get a trusted, close family babysitter to go on a date. We've asked him if anyone is hurting him or touching him, and he has said no, and we make sure both our kids understand what's inappropriate and know they should tell us if anyone tries anything like that. This is the least likely possibility. OP has left an update after a few days. Let me read that for you. Update. We took him to get evaluated again, as it was pretty clear what we were dealing with was more than just ADHD. It took us a while to find a place we thought would do it right this time. Then it took some more time to get a slot, but today we got the official diagnosis. He has ADHD, and a severe version of it, but he's also mildly autistic. On top of this, he has high anxiety and signs of depression. Some of you were suggesting pandas and ODD, and he does seem to have some of those symptoms, but like autism, there are things about him that don't fit those diagnoses. There are things about him that aren't typical of autism. For instance, he loves being social. These inconsistencies and the fact he was younger and had severe ADHD which masked the autism made an autism diagnosis difficult at that time. So why does he hate me? As best I understand it so far, this is what happened. When he was halfway into kindergarten is when it started. His disabilities caused him to struggle as compared to his peers, which led to feelings of inadequacy. Being 5, he didn't have the tools to handle that, so he began coming home from school and destroying the house as a way to express his feelings. We would try to reason with him patiently, but he wouldn't hear it. We tried many other ways of helping him, but the house was getting destroyed, and the only thing that would get him to stop would be sharp, loud commands from my scary male voice. Stop that. So that's what I would do every time he started acting up, because that's what worked. What I was doing, though I didn't know it, was using his anxiety to scare him into behaving better. As time went on and I continued this, I became this scary figure in his life to be feared. The anxiety built, until it became a complicated hate. So where are we now? He doesn't attack me on sight, usually, which is an improvement. But when I come home from work, he often wants to be alone in his room now. When we go out in public, things are better. But at home, the anxiety he attaches to me is still present, though not as intense. How did I fix it? First, I stayed away. I let things chill out for a few weeks, and when he would attack me, instead of getting angry and punishing him, defending myself by shoving him off me, I remained calm and had my wife correct him instead. Then, I decided I needed to talk to him about all this. I knew that going to his room meant immediate bleeding on my part, so I would armor up in a winter coat and gloves, enter his room, and calmly fend his attacks off. It would end with me restraining him on the floor and just talking to him about his behavior, and why it led to my behavior, and why I never meant to be scary, but I had to be scary to stop the madness. This had a little bit of a positive effect, but it took a long time. I did this routine for weeks without much progress. He would attack me, I would restrain him, I would talk and ask him to open up, and he would be silent. Then I finally found something that clicked.
I told him I loved him and always would, and that I thought he was a special and talented kid, and that I would always be proud of him. He cried in my arms and got angry and wanted me to stop, but I pushed through. So then for a couple weeks I kept letting him know that, and over time his reaction to it became normalized, which is how I knew he really believed and understood it. Now we have a routine I call Daddy Therapy Time, and when I come in his room and say, "Let's talk," he gets straight like a pencil on his bed, and I kind of compress him into the bed, and his head hangs off, which he likes for some reason. He has been opening up gradually, and actually talking instead of just me talking. Some days are still hard. He still takes everything out on me, but that's okay. Better me than anyone else. That's my job. I still get bit and scratched, but less often now. And I think things will continue to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. For you overwhelmed parents out there, keep trying. There's hope. Okay, man. This is really tough to read. To feel like your own son hates you, to the point of being physically attacked. Ugh, I can't even imagine that kind of pain. But the part where he realizes his scary voice was the trigger, that takes so much self-awareness to admit. He was just trying to do what worked, and it backfired in the worst way. And him putting on a winter coat just to go in there and say, "I love you." That's what being a dad is, right there. That's dedication. It's not perfect, but it's progress. He didn't give up. That's huge. All right. Wow. That was a lot. I think I just need to place some blocks for a minute here. Just do something simple. All right, so before I head into the nether, I'm just kind of doing my usual inventory shuffle here. Making sure I've got the basics, pickaxe, sword, at least a stack of blocks, enough food so I don't die immediately. Seriously, I always double check for flint and steel too, because if you forget that, it's game over. Let's move on to the next one. This one is from the subreddit r/trueoffmychest. It goes like, "My ex-girlfriend sent me this in the middle of the night. Me and my ex were dating for over a year and a half. We broke up in April 2024 on bad terms. Although we still have a lot of mutual friends, she blocked my number and social media. The attached messages in May were our last messages. Fast forward to July. I went to this somewhat big party hosted by my friend's friend. There, I saw my ex, along with her new partner. Similarly to our exchange in May, her personality was a lot different. She was so much more shy than usual, as if we hadn't ever met before. We went our separate ways, but throughout the day, I noticed how isolated she was. Before she would talk to everyone, but now she was just sitting alone. When people tried to talk to her, she'd just kinda ignore them. I decided to go and ask her what was wrong, or if she was okay. We had a conversation for about half an hour, and everything she said pointed me to depression. I literally have no type of knowledge on psychology or anything, but she described herself doing nothing, every single day. Maybe she was sarcastic, but she told me she'd go to her classes, go eat, and then sleep for 14 hours a day. I asked her about tennis, as she played it all the time before. She said she quit, along with every other hobby she had before. I wanted to ask more, but her partner saw us and stepped in. Nothing confrontational, but they asked if I could leave her alone, and I did. Now she sent me this, and I don't know what to really think of it. Why would she send me this now? Perhaps she just wanted to get the guilt off her chest? My mind thinks of the worst considering her sudden shift in her routine, but perhaps that's too much. Let me throw up the screenshot. OP has attached. Hi. When you see this, I'm sorry I treated you badly. You deserved someone better than me. I hope you find someone who loves you deeply.
What's going on? Are you okay? I am. I'm fine. Okay. Here's what I think. Getting a text like that in the middle of the night from an ex, that's heavy. Especially after seeing her at that party. Quitting hobbies, sleeping all the time, that sounds like she's really going through it. But here's the thing, man. Her new partner told you to back off. You gotta respect that. You can't be her savior. Honestly, there's not much you can do here but hope she gets the help she needs. Maybe reach out to one of those mutual friends. Just say, hey, I'm worried about her. Can you check in? That's all you can do. It's not your fight anymore. Alright, let's move on to the next story. This one is from the subreddit Am I the Asshole? It reads, Am I the asshole for reporting my ex and her husband to the police for stealing my property? My ex-wife, 39F, and I, 41M, share custody of our 3 children, 16, 14, and 12, equally, and no child support is paid. Our marriage didn't end on the best of terms, and we communicate through an app only when required to for the sake of the kids. She has since remarried and has a 15-year-old stepchild and a 13-year-old stepchild. Her husband and I do not speak also. We've had some issues with my ex keeping property that is mine if the kids have it on her time. It started with a cell phone. I gave our eldest my old phone when one of ex's stepkids broke his phone. My ex then told our oldest they were keeping it at her house, and she refused to return it even when I went over there and asked. I was told she had every right to confiscate it. I followed up with an email, and she told me to get over it, and she would not hand it over. The next time our daughter, 14, brought some of my tools into school with her for an assignment, but it was a custody exchange day, so she left my house but went home to her mom's. My ex believed it wasn't appropriate for her to have them, so she took them and refused to return them to me. Again, I got a written exchange as proof. This last time was with our youngest. I let him use an old iPod for a class assignment on recent old tech gadgets. Apparently her 13-year-old stepchild had the same assignment on a different day, and she decided both should get to use it. I told her it was my property and she had to return it. Got another email exchange, and then I contacted the police. My ex gave the stuff back, but she lost her mind over me getting the police involved for petty stuff. She said I could have demanded it back after her stepkid used the iPod, and I told her she wasn't giving any of it back. And what I give for my kids is not for her stepkids. She brought up how more serious trouble could have come from it, and I told her it would be deserved, because you cannot steal someone else's property. She told me it was just my spiteful side emerging because none of it was a big deal, or I never would have given them to my kids, which I think is the dumbest argument. The phone was because her stepkids broke our eldest's phone, and she wasn't about to replace it. Our daughter needed tools for school, and it was only for school, and she wanted to return them to me, but her mom said no, and then the iPod was just for our youngest. I'm not here to help her stepkids in any way. My ex and her husband and their mom, if she's still in the picture, can do that. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Not even close. Your ex isn't confiscating things, she's stealing them. There's a big difference. This isn't about an iPod, it's about a pattern. You tried asking, you put it in writing, and she still refused to return your property. So, what were you supposed to do? Just let her keep taking your stuff forever? Calling the police wasn't being spiteful. It was the direct consequence of her actions. You taught her a lesson about boundaries. Alright, that's enough family drama. Let's get to the next story. This one is from the subreddit r/trueoffmychest. It reads, I just watched a coworker fired on the spot. 8 of us were meeting in our conference room this morning, including one of the VPs and the CFO. 7 of us were in attendance already. Relaxed atmosphere, talking about what we all did over the weekend and whose kids started school already. Last guy comes in, sees one of the CPAs has a Dunkin' Coolada ice cream looking drink with the flavored drizzle and whipped cream, and says, Man, one of those will kill your whole month's worth of all those salads you've been eating. Just wasted all that time and money. Ha ha ha. For context, she is a bigger woman. Very soft-spoken, respectful, professional, very much only speaks when she has something worth hearing. So this was absolutely not the correct person to make that comment to. This woman looked down into her lap and fought tears. And yes, she has been eating salads for a few months. Just a wild comment from a person that never casually socializes with the other. CFO stands up quickly and says, "This company has always had a zero-tolerance policy regarding bullying, body shaming, and contributing to toxic workplaces. Your termination is effective immediately." Guy turns white as a ghost, looking terrified, stands motionless for 5 long seconds, and then quietly walks out. CFO follows him out. The firing heard round the office has now been the discussion for the last hour or so. One of the ladies told me after, the CFO's middle school-aged daughter has dealt with constant bullying for the last couple years. For context, we're not kids. Everyone in that room was over the age of 40. Not that it would have been any better had it come from some 22-year-old fool, but at our age, maturity usually kicks in by now. In a meeting? In front of the CFO? That's not just a dumb comment. That's a career suicide mission. Making a comment like that is just completely out of line, especially to someone so kind and professional. But that CFO, firing him on the spot like that? That's incredible. No hesitation. That is exactly how you handle workplace bullying. You don't let it slide. You'd think by 40, people would learn not to be a jerk. Guess not. Alright, I have got a good one next in the line. This story is from the subreddit r/legal advice. It reads, "I followed and reported a drunk driver, then I got a ticket for driving past curfew. Last week, I was driving home from my friend's house when I noticed someone driving very erratically. They were swerving when there was nothing to avoid, and they couldn't stay in their lane, so I called the police and followed them. The police caught up to us after a while, and they pulled over the driver. It turns out that he was extremely drunk, and when they gave him the sobriety tests, he failed them miserably. He was arrested, and the police asked me to write a statement and give them my information. I gave one of the cops my driver's license, I'm under 18, so he could copy my address, and he said that I wasn't allowed to be driving because it was past 11. I told him that I would have been home by 11, but I noticed the drunk driver and I didn't want someone to get hurt, so I followed them. Plus, when I called them, they asked me to keep following the man even though it was technically past curfew. The officer said that it didn't matter even if me driving past curfew meant that World War III was prevented, that the law is the law, and that he had to give me a ticket because I broke curfew. He said he would have to give me another ticket if I drove home myself, so I called my parents and they came and picked me up, and drove the car I was driving home. This feels so wrong. I did a good thing and I'm getting punished for it. Am I really going to have to pay this ticket, or is there some way out? I'm thinking of calling the police station and asking them to reduce the fine, but at this point I'm really anxious because I have to mail something back to the court in a few days. Otherwise, I'll get arrested and I don't know what to do. I'm in Pennsylvania if it matters. Update. I took the advice that I was given and I pleaded not guilty. Last week I went to court and here's what happened. I brought copies of my cell phone's call log, showing that I called 911 before curfew, as well as the same records from my carrier. I also got a copy of the drunk driver's criminal complaint with the help of the court clerk, and I printed out a copy of the justification law. The hearing started with the officer saying that I was pulled over on the side of the road, that he went to investigate why I was there, and that I voluntarily confessed to driving past curfew. He said that that was all he needed to prove in order to prove my guilt, and basically left it at that. Then it was my turn to speak. I said that while I did drive past curfew, it was because I had noticed an erratic driver, and I was following him because I thought he was going to hurt someone. I felt that if I had let the man go, that he would kill somebody, and that 911 had told me to keep following him. I gave my evidence to the judge and to the police officer, and I said that I would have been home on time if not for the drunk driver. I argued that I had a reasonable belief that the man was very drunk, and that the police are accusing the driver of having a .12 BAC. The judge asked the officer about the driver, and he confirmed the BAC. Finally, I brought up the justification defense. I argued that driving past curfew was a summary offense, and that drunk driving was at minimum a misdemeanor, and at worst a first-degree felony if he killed someone. I said that the law clearly provided a defense to my conduct because drunk driving was clearly the greater of the two evils, and because I drove in an otherwise safe manner. The judge agreed and found me not guilty. He said that I had proven my defense by a preponderance of the evidence and that I had done the right thing. I'm going to get my collateral back in the mail in a few days, and my record is clean. So you do the right thing. potentially save someone's life and you get a ticket for it? That's insane. I get the law is the law, but that officer had zero common sense. It's moments like that that just drive me crazy. But the update, the way you went to court, prepared with all the evidence, the call logs, the drunk driver's BAC, looking up the actual justification defense, that was brilliant. And the judge agreed, not guilty. That's exactly how it should have ended. Good for you for fighting that. Love to see it.
So right now I'm just throwing some netherrack around the nether portal,
Kinda boxing it in like a little shelter. It's not pretty, but trust me, something is better than nothing when it comes to surviving out here. This keeps hostile mobs from immediately spotting me and ganging up the second I step through. Plus, it actually protects the portal from getting blasted by ghasts. If their fireballs hit the netherrack instead, the portal stays lit and I don't get stranded. Alright, it's time for the last story of today. It's from the subreddit r/AmITheJerk. It reads,
Am I the jerk? My fiance told me, this is it, take it or leave it. So I gave him the ring back and told him to get out of my house. My fiance Tom, M37, and I, F28, have been together 2 years. He moved into my house 6 months ago and proposed a month ago. I thought we were solid, but now I'm questioning everything. I inherited a fortune 3 years ago. It changed my life, but I live below my means. I work part-time as a teacher, travel, and have a non-profit in the works. I budget carefully so the money lasts. Only my dad and sister know the full amount. When Tom moved in, I paid for everything except most groceries. He wanted us to eventually buy a bigger house together so his dad could move in. I said no to living with in-laws, but suggested maybe a separate unit someday. He pushed back but agreed we needed to discuss finances first. Tom earns approximately $10,000 per month and has $100,000 saved. I have millions invested and about $40,000 per month income from it. When I told him, he was shocked. He said if I have so much, why not just buy the house and cover everything? I explained that just because I can doesn't mean I should. I proposed separate finances, a joint account for expenses, and splitting costs proportionally to income. I also told him I wanted a prenuptial agreement. That's when things blew up. He argued we should be equal partners, meaning I buy the house in both our names, even if he doesn't contribute. We fought about this for days. Eventually, he gave me an ultimatum. Final offer. You buy the house, we each own 50%, I'll sign the prenup. Take it or leave it. I asked if that meant breaking up if I said no. He hesitated, but said yes. So I left it. I took off the ring, told him it was over, and that he needed to move out. He backtracked, saying he didn't really want to end things, just wanted me to agree. He accused me of throwing away our relationship for money. I told him he threw it away by demanding I fund our life and give him half of the assets I worked to protect. Now I'm wondering if I sabotaged my relationship. I love him, but I don't think it's fair to bankroll a grown man or accept ultimatums about my own money. Am I the jerk? Edit. When we first started dating, he understandably questioned how I managed my lifestyle on a teaching salary. I explained that I had a small inheritance which allowed me to buy my house and have some savings to live on. I admit I may have been wrong to be vague, but at the time we were just starting to date and I wasn't comfortable sharing all the details yet. My house is nice but nothing extravagant, and during our relationship we always split expenses 50-50. Dates, trips, everything. When he moved in, I offered to keep covering the utilities, since I was already paying them, and he would handle groceries. Things were fine until after we got engaged. I pushed for us to discuss everything openly before marriage, and we agreed on most things. About his father moving in, this isn't something he wants right away, but he says eventually his dad would move in so he can take care of him. I adore his father, but I personally don't want to live with in-laws. His solution was that we should buy another house together, so he would feel like it's our home instead of him living in my house. I understood that perspective, but the new house would also have to be larger if his dad were to move in, which I'm not comfortable with. About finances, initially when we discussed buying another house, the plan was to contribute together. But once we started looking at what we could afford, we had to lay our finances on the table. When he found out my net worth, everything shifted.
He said that if we split 50-50, we couldn't afford a bigger house, and since I had the means, I should buy the house myself, but it would still be our house. I told him that whatever amount he contributes would equal his share of equity in the property. Maybe I was naive, but until this point, I never saw signs of him being a gold digger. He never pressured me to pay for things and always split expenses fairly. That's why this change has been such a shock. Right now, I'm locked in my bedroom, and I told him he can sleep in the guest room tonight, but that he needs to move out tomorrow. We haven't spoken since. That's where things stand.
Update. This morning, I woke up and Tom had made breakfast and asked if we could talk. He said things got out of control last night and he wanted to explain his side. He told me he was upset that I had lied about my finances and felt like I didn't trust him. He said the money difference made him feel that I would always have more power in the relationship and that he might be vulnerable to financial abuse. He insisted that he wasn't interested in my money, but wanted to feel that I would choose him over money. He admitted that he handled things badly and should never have reacted the way he did or given me an ultimatum. He said he felt lost and frustrated. The only thing he emphasized really matters to him is his father eventually moving in. They're very close, and he wants to take care of him as he gets older. He apologized, said he didn't want to lose me, and told me he was willing to accept my conditions. I apologized for not being upfront about my inheritance, but I also told him I wasn't sure I could continue the relationship. His reaction last night felt entitled and manipulative, and I'm afraid he was showing me who he really is. I told him I love him, but I'm worried money will always be an issue between us. If he's already pushing for a house before marriage, what else might he push for later? I explained that the only way I could even consider continuing is if he agreed to a bulletproof prenup, stating that in case of divorce, he only leaves with what he contributed, nothing more. Agreeing to buy a house together, but his equity would reflect his contribution only. I also suggested options like a guest house for his father, or a condo nearby, but not living directly with us. Creating a monthly budget where we both contribute proportionally to our incomes into a joint account for shared expenses, while keeping our separate accounts for personal money. Going to counseling together. He agreed to all of this. Still, I told him I don't know if I can trust him again and need time to think. He agreed to go stay in a hotel for a few days to give us both space. Right now, I honestly don't know what to do. Part of me sees his point and wonders if he just overreacted. But another part of me is afraid that if I ignore his behavior, I'll be setting myself up for bigger problems in the future.
I would really appreciate your help in figuring out where to go from here.
Absolutely not the jerk. It's not even a question. This is it, take it or leave it? Over her money? He wants you to buy a house, give him 50% and have his dad move in? And his contribution is what, exactly? But then you said, okay, leave it. Gave him the ring back. That is the perfect response. Then he backtracks and says he was afraid of financial abuse? The nerve. He just showed you exactly who he is when money is on the table. You didn't sabotage anything. You just refused to be a bank. Good for you. That's all the Reddit stories for tonight, folks. Some wild ones in there definitely reminded me why I love reading your thees. Thanks for spending your evening with me. Whether you're drifting off to sleep right now, finishing up some work, or just needed something peaceful in the background. I really appreciate you choosing to hang out here. Hope you get some good rest, and I'll catch you in the next video. Good night.